Discover the incredible transformation of a mocked puppy. Heartwarming journey to an unexpected triumph. Rusty was no ordinary puppy. With tousled fur that resembled a rat's nest, and an awkward limp that made him look like he was perpetually tripping over his own paws, he was often overlooked in a neighborhood where polished lawns and perfect pets were the norm. The other kids on the block called him names like Scruffy and laughed at his clumsy gait. But little did they know, a magnificent journey was about to unfold from the heart of a little boy and his Scruffy dog. Rusty shared a cozy home with his devoted single mother, Sarah, who worked tireless shifts at 2 jobs, and his older brother, Jake. Just returning from the military, Jake struggled to find his footing in a world that felt different now. On the surface, their lives were humble, but to Rusty they were rich with love. As Sarah prepared dinner in their small kitchen, her laughter mingled with echoes of Jake's stories about his time in service, filling the house with warmth. Yet just outside their door, judging eyes watched with skepticism as the family navigated their way through challenges. One day, after a long shift, Sarah plopped onto the old threadbare couch, her eyes weary but bright with love. "Rusty," she said, tousling the puppy's messy fur, "we've got to change the way people see us." Jake chimed in, "Let us train him for the local pet competition. Show them the heart and spirit of our family." Rusty's ears perked up at the idea, as if sensing this was their chance to shine. However, just as their hopes soared, Rusty fell ill. Watching him shiver and whine, Jake felt panic claw at his chest. "What if we can't compete?" he whispered to Sarah, who was fighting back tears. They both realized that once again, they were facing the weight of expectations and judgment. Rusty's illness felt like an unbearable shadow hanging over them, but they pressed on. With moments of heart-pounding excitement, they decided to enter Rusty into the competition prematurely. The day of the event burst forth with hustle and bustle. Families gathered around, grinning and gossiping, waiting for the show to begin. Jake and Sarah's hearts raced as they carried Rusty to the center stage. Confusion and chaos erupted. Rusty zigzagged like a pinball, tripping repeatedly over his own legs, while snickers and murmurs washed over them like waves. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The moment seemed disastrous, but Rusty's determination radiated through the crowd. Sparks of laughter turned to cheers, and slowly but surely, the community's collective heart began to thaw. Children started clapping, while the grown-ups paused their mocking notes. Rusty was more than just a scruffy puppy now. He was a symbol of resilience, igniting an unexpected pride in those who had once judged him. As the applause swelled, Rusty's spirit soared higher than ever. With every stumble, he fell and rose again, unwavering in his loyalty to the family who loved him fiercely. Just when they all thought Rusty was moments away from defeat, hope flickered brightly within their hearts. Could this little family, with their unassuming scruff of a puppy, prove that true spirit can prevail against all odds? Would the community finally embrace them and the beauty of their bond? As the final moments approached, one burning question hung thick in the air. Would love and togetherness be enough to transform their lives forever? Amidst the cheers and claps, Rusty wobbled back to his feet, his big brown eyes sparkling with an unspoken determination. Jake felt a swell of pride fill his chest. "Look at him go!" he shouted, unable to contain his excitement. Sarah clutched her heart, overcome with emotions. This was not just about winning. It was about showing everyone the love that had nourished their home, the strength they carried as a family. As Rusty continued his quirky dance across the stage, the atmosphere shifted. Faces that once wore looks of ridicule were now aglow with warmth. Slowly, murmurs of admiration began to replace the laughter. Children waved their hands, echoing Rusty's enthusiasm. Parents leaned in, captivated by the joy radiating from the unkempt puppy who had first appeared so out of place. Rusty took one more misstep, slipping and landing softly on his side. For a heartbeat, silence wrapped around the crowd. Then, to everyone's surprise, Rusty rolled back onto his paws, his tail wagging furiously as if to say, "I'm not done yet." Gasps turned into laughter, and laughter erupted into cheers once more. The resilience of this little dog reminded everyone of their own hidden battles, the times when they felt small but still found the strength to keep going. "Come on, Rusty. You've got this," Jake yelled, his voice piercing through the escalating roars. Rusty seemed to channel the energy of his family, propelling himself forward again, each wobbly step more confident than the last. Sarah couldn't stop the tears that now flowed freely down her cheeks, the kind of tears that flowed from pride, not sadness. And then, just as they reached the final stretch, the MC called for a pause. A hush fell over the crowd, caught off guard. "We need a few moments to tally the scores," he announced, trying to regain his composure after the whirlwind of cuteness on stage. It was an anticlimactic break that took the wind out of their joyous sails. Rusty, panting from his efforts, flopped down playfully on the stage, inviting giggles from those in attendance. "Now what?" Jake whispered, anxiety creeping back in. Would they be forgotten in this lull? Would the fact that Rusty was not traditionally perfect harm their chances? Sarah intertwined her fingers with Jake's, grounding him. "This moment is our victory already. No matter what happens next, Rusty showed them who he really is," she consoled. The warmth of her words settled like sunshine in the pit of Jake's stomach. Just then, a young girl emerged from the crowd. Her pigtails bounced as she approached Rusty, kneeling beside him to offer a treat. "You're the best dog ever," she squealed, holding out a tiny biscuit shaped like a bone. Rusty perked up, his tail thumping against the stage, brightening everyone's spirits. Jake and Sarah watched, hearts swelling. At that moment, Rusty became more than a competitor. He became the heart of the community, melting barriers built by judgment and misunderstanding. But as the respite continued, a darker cloud loomed in the back of Jake's mind. What if the judges didn't see what everyone else did? What if the triumph they felt so tangible in that moment slipped away? With all those thoughts swirling inside him, he barely noticed as the MC finally returned. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "it's time to announce the winners. Get ready to find out who stole our hearts today." As the crowd held its collective breath, Jake squeezed Sarah's hand tightly. Rusty's tail thumped louder in anticipation. Would their dreams be fulfilled? Or would they go home with just a memory of a moment that felt so right? The air crackled with expectation and Sarah whispered, "No matter what, we've already won." But just before the winner's name was declared, a shocking revelation echoed through the crowd, leaving them all in stunned silence. What could possibly tear this moment apart? "Ladies and gentlemen," the MC's voice cut through the silence sharply, each word heavy with weight. "It has come to our attention that there has been an error in the scoring. An incident has been reported regarding the judge's decision." He paused for dramatic effect, gauging the audience's reaction. Jake's heart raced. The hushed murmurs began swirling like leaves in a gale, each one filled with uncertainty and fear. An incident? Jake thought. What did he mean? Was Rusty being disqualified? In that moment of hesitation, the glint of hope inside him dimmed. The judges believe that everyone who participated today deserves recognition, the MC said, finally breaking into a wide smile. The crowd seemed to breathe together, a brief relief rushing through before tension hung once more in the air. So, with that in mind, we will be announcing several winners. This event is about love, laughter, and the community we create together. Cheers erupted once again, washing over the uncertainty. But Jake's heart was still heavy. Would Rusty be among them? Rusty, whose spirit had shone so brightly, and whose quirky dance had touched everyone. With careful deliberation, the MC began calling out names. Jake held his breath, finding it hard to catch a steady rhythm. Rusty sat up, ears perked, as if he could sense the weight of the moment surrounding them. Next, we have the Most Joyful Performer Award. The MC continued, and although it wasn't the grand prize, Jake's heart raced as the name of a fluffy golden retriever rang into the air. A deserving winner, he announced, and the crowd was enthusiastic, clapping and cheering. But Jake felt conflicted. Wasn't joy what Rusty filled the room with? Did recognition somehow diminish the magic Rusty had created on that stage? Dusting off those thoughts was challenging when anxiety squeezed his chest, threatening to steal the moment's light as they approached the final awards. The air thickened with even greater anticipation. Then the voice rang out again. And now we reach the final announcement, the best in show. This award goes to the one who has captured our hearts, whose spirit embodies everything this event stands for. He paused for what felt like an eternity, and Jake could hear his pulse in his ears. People shifted, excited whispers blending with gasps of suspense. "Rusty!" the MC finally shouted, and the crowd erupted into a frenzy of cheers. Their voices intertwined and echoed through the park, drowning out the sound of disbelief that echoed in Jake's own mind. Rusty jumped up, tail wagging furiously as if he understood that he was now at the forefront of something profound. A champion in his own right. Tears streamed down Sarah's cheeks, and in that moment, everything was both clear and joyous, a mingling of relief and disbelief. They were not only recognized. Rusty had transformed into a symbol of hope and acceptance, breaking down barriers one joyful wag at a time. But as they moved to collect the award, something started to unfold within the crowd, an unexpected commotion. Jake turned to see a figure stepping forward, visibly displeased, and the weight of the moment shifted once more. Who was this person and what did they want? "Rusty, doesn't he deserve that trophy?" The words echoed with a venom that sliced through the celebration. External triumph now brimming with uncertainty, Jake felt his insides twist, a new challenge just on the horizon. What would it take to protect this sweet little creature, who had already shown so much resilience? Jake's heart sank with those harsh words, each syllable wrapping around him like a choking vine. He scanned the crowd for the source of the interruption, desperate to confront this unknown adversary, whose gloomy cloud threatened to overshadow their hard-fought celebration. A man emerged, tall and lean, with a face twisted in disdain. Spectators shifted uneasily, eyes darting between him and the stage. "That isn't what you think," he spat, the aggressiveness in his tone cutting through the happiness like a knife. "Ronnie won last year. He deserves the spotlight, not some scrappy dog." The joy in Jake's heart felt like a balloon slowly deflating. He glanced at Rusty, who sat calmly by his side, head tilted and eyes wide, innocent and trusting. How could anyone harbor such viciousness, especially towards a creature so pure? The crowd grew quiet, tension thick enough to slice through. Sarah squeezed Jake's hand, her heartache palpable as she battled the urge to defend their beloved Rusty. "We should say something," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. But what could they say in the face of this unwarranted attack? Jake stood tall, clenching his fists. "Maybe we can't change this angry man's mind," he thought. But we can't let his words steal Rusty's moment either. He glanced at the parade of other competing pets, all basking in the applause, some still wagging tails and eager for the spotlight. Rusty was never just another contestant. He spoke up, his voice steady, and the crowd turned to him, eyes wide with curiosity. "He's become our friend, our joy. Isn't that what this event is truly about?" He could feel himself gaining momentum. Love, laughter, and the spirit of friendship. Rusty taught us that kindness and happiness matter far more than trophies. A ripple of soft murmurs spread through the crowd as they began to nod, caught in the swell of emotion. Jake locked eyes with Rusty, who was staring back at him with an unwavering trust that made everything feel right again. The MC stepped closer to diffuse the brewing storm. "Let's remember, folks, this event is about unity, and Rusty's spirit is certainly deserving of the pride we're all feeling right now." Cheers began to break through the hesitant silence, building momentum. Each clap and shout wash over the negativity like waves washing away debris from the shore. "Rusty deserves this," shouted someone from the back. The crowd joined in, chanting his name like a mantra, drowning out the jeers of dissent. Rusty beamed, tail wagging faster with every cheer. In that moment, Jake realized that love was louder than hate. But the tall man wasn't done yet. "You can't put a band-aid on the truth," he barked, stepping towards the stage, his presence heavy with confrontation. "Rusty has a history. He doesn't deserve this." Jake felt the heat rising in his chest. The moment felt undeniably electric, a tipping point where every emotion was magnified. "What truth?" Jake called back. "What are you talking about?" The crowd turned, eyes fixed on the newcomer, and for a brief moment, Jake felt a flicker of dread. Had Rusty been hiding a darker secret all along? What could this man possibly say to mar the perfect day? "Let us see your champion's real story." Jake's heart hammered as the atmosphere crackled with unease. What revelation awaited them? Would Rusty's name soon turn from a symbol of joy to a whisper of something bitter? The air was thick with uncertainty, His fingers tightened around Rusty's collar. Whatever was coming, they would face it together, but could Rusty withstand it? Jake could feel the tension rising, thick enough to choke him. The crowd, once lively and jubilant, seemed to hold its breath, caught between curiosity and dread. Rusty, sensing something was off, pressed closer to Jake, a comforting warmth against the wave of anxiety rolling through him. "Who does this guy think he is?" Jake muttered under his breath, glaring at the tall man. Yet deep down, fear coiled in his stomach. What if this stranger was right? What if Rusty did have some dark past he hadn't shared? Does anyone have a right to define him by that? Jake thought fiercely. Despite the doubt creeping in like a shadow, he couldn't shake the bond he felt with Rusty. No matter what might come, their shared moments of joy, the laughter, the cuddles, all those sunsets they watched together, those mattered. "Let us just hear it," Jake shouted, surprising himself with the steadiness in his voice. "Let us hear what he has to say." The crowd whispered among themselves, uncertainty mixed with the flickering embers of loyalty. Jake stepped forward, heart racing but resolute, ready to defend Rusty at all costs. "Rusty deserves this." Sarah's voice cut through the murmur, filled with steadfastness. "He has changed our lives. No one else can take that away from him." A wave of support surged behind her. Jake felt a warmth spread through him, emboldened by their belief. A timid voice from the back called out, "What does this man really know about Rusty?" Others began to echo, each voice lifting the atmosphere, restoring its essence. The man, undeterred, smirked bitterly. "You all think that this mutt is some kind of hero. You need to know the truth. He has a stray that has been through. Well, let us just say he is not the sweet little pup you think he is." The crowd's mood shifted. Whispers of discontent mixed with curiosity, creating an almost physical tension. Jake's heart sank at this reveal, yet he couldn't let defeat wrap around him. "Does it even matter?" he thought. "Rusty is here now, and he is ours." "Rusty. He is my best friend," Jake said, driving his voice over the tide of noise. "All he knows is love. Isn't that the most important thing? Isn't that what we celebrate? Love conquers all." But the man raised a hand, as if to demand silence. "Shall I tell you about the time he bit a child in despair? That's why he was abandoned," the crowd gasped. Jake felt the blood rush from his face. "It can't be true." "Not Rusty." Each word seemed to peel layers off the blissful day, revealing a grisly underbelly that he never imagined could exist. "Wait!" a woman shouted, her voice strong. "None of us are perfect. We all have history. Rusty is here now, and that matters. We can't judge him for mistakes he made before he found his place with us." Jake locked eyes with Sarah as hope surged within him. He saw her fighting against the tide and knew he had to match her spirit. "We'll defend Rusty together," he thought, and stepped out boldly into the light. His past doesn't define him. What matters is who he is now. But just as he felt a flicker of renewed strength, the man scoffed, "You're all willing to ignore the signs for a sweet smile and a wagging tail?" The gasps rippled again, tension hanging heavier than before. Could love really bridge the gaps of forgotten wounds? Would Rusty remain their beloved champion? Or would the truth shatter everything? With a heart pounding like a drum, Jake prepared for a battle against the harsh truth that seemed poised to strike. Together they would stand against it. But how deep did Rusty's history run? Are we brave enough for whatever comes next? Jake wondered as the thrilling tension seized the air. What would the stranger reveal, and could their fragile joy withstand it? The tall man leaned closer, smirking at the crowd as if he were orchestrating a grand performance. Jake felt Rusty push against his leg, sensing the unease in the air. Every eye was on the stranger, and a chill ran through the crowd. "You want to know why he was abandoned?" The man sneered, raising his voice. "The last family he was with." "Stop!" Jake shouted, his voice breaking through the tidal wave of tension. It echoed across the park, startling many. He took a step forward, heart racing. The weight of the moment pressed down on his chest. "Don't you dare paint Rusty with your words before we've heard the whole story." A silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the thumping of Jake's heart. Sarah stood beside him, fists clenched, her lips pressed into a thin line of determination. The crowd's eyes darted between the man and the duo, standing strong, desperate to protect what they loved. Rusty seemed to pick up on the rising energy, his tail wagging slowly, as if he too understood the gravity of the situation. Jake knelt down, meeting the dog's gaze. "You remember that day at the shelter?" he whispered. "When we first met. You and I had the same chance, lost but fighting for what was left." Rusty licked his hand, and in that moment, he felt their connection solidify. "Rusty is kind," Sarah added, her voice rising in strength. "I've seen him with my kids. He is gentle and loving. He deserves this life." The man rolled his eyes, unfazed by their defiance. "You think that you can overlook the past just because he is cute?" he scoffed. "Those scars don't just vanish. You're playing with fire here, people." Jake felt anger flare within him. "You don't know who he is now. You're judging him for things he had no control over." He stood tall, the weight of Rusty's trust resting on his shoulders. "He has changed. Isn't that what we all want? A second chance?" The man tensed, eyes narrowing, but the crowd began murmuring in agreement. "A second chance," echoed someone from the back, and those words spread through the group like wildfire. "Exactly." Sarah rallied, her voice firm. "Rusty has shown us love. He has been our light even when our days were dark. We don't just see him as a dog. He is part of our family." A movement stirred among the crowd. Heads nodded and shared whispers of support cascaded through. They were united in their resolve, standing shoulder to shoulder, all for Rusty. But the stranger was far from done. He pointed a finger sharply at Rusty, a challenge forming on his lips. "What if I told you the reason he bites flows from a darker place? What if he is still dangerous?" An audible gasp fluttered over the crowd. Fear danced in the eyes of many, and Jake felt a wave of despair wash over him. In that moment, a creeping doubt seeped into the cracks of his heart. Was it really possible that he'd overlooked something essential? Could Rusty still carry remnants of that pain? "Rusty can't change what happened in the past," Jake argued quickly, his voice trembling. "But he can shape the future we build together. Isn't that what love is about?" The crowd's murmurs grew louder, supportive yet unsure. Would they really believe in the transformation of a creature so deeply ingrained in heartbreak? Can one love truly erase the shadows of the past? A voice piped up, reflecting the fear nestling in everyone's heart. Jake looked around, realization dawning on him. "No, but it can help us face them," he replied. "Can heal us too." Rusty leaned into him, resting his head on Jake's knee as if saying, "I'm here. I trust you." With trepidation swelling in his chest, Jake knew that whatever might come next, laying bare the truth about Rusty was even more essential. But would the crowd follow him? Would they still accept Rusty after facing the ghosts of his past? In that moment, a sharp cry broke through a child near the front, eyes wide with concern. But what if he gets scared and runs away again? Jake's heart sank. If Rusty's past could bring that level of fear, would he truly be able to reclaim the love and trust they fought for? Would they hold on, or would everything unravel before his eyes? Jake took a deep breath, preparing for the storm ahead. What secrets might still be hidden, waiting to unfold? Jake could feel the collective breath of the crowd hitch, the air thick with uncertainty. He glanced at Sarah, her features a mixture of hope and anxiety, mirroring his own turmoil. This moment felt bigger than them. It was about Rusty's very essence. He closed his eyes for a fleeting second, grounding himself in the memory of how Rusty had taken a broken piece of himself and turned it into a vibrant spectrum of love and loyalty. "Listen." Jake raised his voice, determined to cut through the swirling doubt. "Rusty isn't defined by his past. None of us are. All he needs is understanding, a chance to show what love can do." His heart raced as he spoke, fueled by the passion that had ignited in him since getting Rusty. Rusty, as if sensing the urgency, lifted his head higher, his brown eyes searching Jake's for reassurance. "Look at him," Jake continued, gesturing towards the dog. "He is here, right in front of you, bearing the weight of scars that made him strong rather than dangerous. Can you see that?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd again, but this time they felt more collaborative, contemplative. It was as if the seeds of doubt that had been planted were sprouting into something more hopeful. "We all have our own stories, don't we?" Sarah chimed in, her voice a soothing balm amid the rising tension. "We've all struggled and faced our own battles. Would we want our past to hold us back from the love we have now?" The atmosphere shifted slightly, tension softening as parents hugged their children a bit tighter and friends leaned closer together. sharing knowing glances, reminders of their own imperfections. The man who had challenged them remained unmoved, his expression hardened, but Jake sensed cracks in his unwavering facade. With renewed bravery, Jake spoke to the stranger, hoping that a flicker of compassion might penetrate the darkened heart. You know, Rusty wouldn't hurt anyone unless he felt threatened. He only wants to be loved just like we all do. Isn't that worth something? A chance to grow? To heal? To be part of a family? Rusty scrunched his face and gave a low whine, almost as if he was talking back. Jake chuckled nervously. The dog's response broke the remaining tension, and a ripple of laughter broke from the crowd. Felt good, better than he expected. But then he spotted the child from earlier, still fidgeting with worry. The little girl, no older than 7, who had asked if Rusty might run away again, tugged on her mother's sleeve. But what if he does? Can he ever be safe? Jake felt the question stick to his throat. Could he guarantee Rusty's safety in every situation? He glanced at Rusty, who seemed wise beyond his years, and swallowed hard. I wish I could say yes, he admitted, his voice breaking slightly, but we can't predict everything. All we can do is try and build a safe space for him and for us. The stranger let out a snort. What's the point of trying then? Jake stepped closer, holding the gaze of the man. Because that's what love is. It's messy and unpredictable. It's about believing in someone despite their past and giving them room to grow. Just as we want that for ourselves. Rusty stood beside Jake, his body tense but faithful, mirroring their resolve. The crowd looked around, searching for affirmation. Whispers floated between them, encouraging some to step closer, hands reaching for Rusty to pet him. Maybe he is worth a chance, an older woman said softly, nodding. The stranger opened his mouth slightly, preparing to respond, but the crowd had turned a shift in the tide, away from judgment and toward acceptance. Jake dared to hope. Could they overcome the fear? Could love indeed bind them against the haunting shadows of the past? But just as that hope began to flourish, the tall man tilted his head, eyes darkening again. You think this is over? This is just the beginning. There's so much you don't know about him, or what he is capable of. Jake's heart plummeted. The other shoe hadn't just dropped. It had shattered into pieces. What else could there be? As the crowd whispered worriedly, Jake bolstered himself. He had to find out what lay beneath for Rusty's sake and for his own. He knew it was time to confront whatever secrets still lingered in the shadows, but would they be strong enough to weather the storm? With every soul now watching him intently, Jake felt that this was just the beginning of a deeper journey. The question loomed heavy above them all. What truths would emerge next, and would they fracture the bonds they had just begun to tighten? Jake's heart raced as the tall man's words hung in the air like a dark cloud, threatening to swallow the momentum they just gained. He could see the fear creeping back into the faces of the crowd. Parents shifted uneasily, and the little girl's grip on her mother tightened. Please, Jake pleaded, his voice cracking with desperation. What do you know about him? Maybe sharing this can help us understand. We're all listening. The man smirked slightly. You really want to know? Fine. Rusty was found in a warehouse, chained and abandoned for months. They think he might have attacked other animals. It's not just a bad past. It's a wounded soul that can lash out. You really think that sweet talk will make him safe? The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath swirling through the air. The little girl had turned pale, her eyes wide with newfound fear. Jake felt his chest tighten. Rusty, sensing the change, turned to Jake, pressing against his leg as if looking for protection. He is here now. Jake shouted above the mounting whispers. He is with us. Isn't that what matters? We're giving him a chance just like everyone deserves. But the stranger shook his head, his face hardening once more. I've seen these stories before. Dogs don't just change overnight. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. But they do change, don't they? Rusty deserves that chance to heal. We can help him if we give him love, time, and a safe environment. It's not about ignoring the past. It's about recognizing that he can be something more. Jake met sense of urgency in Sarah's eyes, a silent understanding passing between them. He had always believed in redemption, not just for humans but for all living beings. He turned back to the crowd, every eye on him, every heart beating in rhythm with uncertainty. Rusty isn't just another dog. He's a reflection of our own struggles, our own fears. We all have scars. Those scars are what bring us together, not drive us apart. In that moment he could feel the tide shifting once again. Some audience members leaned in, their expressions softening as they began perceiving Rusty in a new light. Conversation sparked a flicker of warmth, igniting slowly in the shrouded faces. Yet the man stood firm, his defiance fighting back against this unfolding change. If you're wrong and he does lash out, how will you explain that to those kids? To yourself? Jake felt a pang of doubt, the kind that cuts deep. We can't predict every outcome, he murmured, grappling with the weight of responsibility. But I refuse to live in fear. Rusty deserves a chance just as we do. And then, out of nowhere, Rusty took a tentative step forward, inching closer to the man. The unexpected movement sent shockwaves through the crowd. In that moment of vulnerability, Rusty turned and lay down on the grass, belly exposed, trusting and eager for acceptance. Look at him, Jake urged, voice steady. He's asking to be loved. Isn't that worth taking a chance? The tension in the air snapped. Voices rose and fell, questions of what if and maybe filled the space around them. Kind eyes began meeting one another. The foundation of acceptance felt like clay in their hands, ready to be shaped. But just as hope began to take root, the tall man opened his mouth again, eyes glinting with something darker. You really think this is just about the dog? This is bigger than you know, trust me, you have no idea what you're getting into. Jake froze, the applause of acceptance stifled by a sudden dread. What else was there they hadn't been told? The pulse in his throat quickened, an ominous twist in the plot that might alter the course of everything he'd worked for. As the crowd shifted, glances of fear mixing with those of solidarity, Jake knew this trial was far from over. He felt a stirring inside. They all stood at the edge of an unknown and perilous journey, drenched in the weight of unanswered questions. But one question loomed larger than all. What truths lay in wait, and were they prepared to face them? Jake's heart pounded as a chill swept through the crowd. He scanned the faces around him. The confusion and fear were palpable, like heavy fog rolling in, threatening to close off their hearts. He couldn't let that happen. He stepped closer to Rusty, who lay still in the grass, glancing up at Jake with eyes full of hope. The tall man's presence felt like a shadow that pressed down on them all. I know you all want to believe in something good, he said, his tone low, but sometimes hope can be dangerous. A younger man, tall and wiry, spoke up, emboldened by Jake's courage. What about belief? What about faith? Isn't that how real change happens? Faith doesn't change the reality of violence, the man shot back. Just look at how Rusty was before. Jake felt a burn of anger rising in him. Did the tall man not see how far they had come? Look at him now, he exclaimed, his voice rising. He wasn't just rescued from a warehouse. He's here right in front of you. He trusts us. Rusty lifted his head, ears perking up as if he felt the energy shifting. The crowd, intertwined with both fear and growing courage, started to murmur again, voices weaving together an undercurrent of support. Let us not forget the past, Sarah reminded softly. But let us also look forward. Give Rusty that chance and maybe we all grow in the process. The little girl stepped forward, her small figure vivid against the grassy field. He's just like my puppy, she said, voice shaking slightly but resolute. He deserves a home, love, and snuggles. The crowd chuckled softly, the tension easing for a heartbeat. Jake felt a swell of pride for her bravery. Exactly, he said, turning back towards the man with renewed determination. We all deserve a home, a chance to heal. Isn't that what we want for our families, for ourselves? With each word Jake spoke, he felt the air begin to warm. They were coming together as a community, every voice finding a place in this conversation. Fear slowly transformed into curiosity, doubt into compassion. But just as he dared to embrace the lightness, the tall man's laughter pierced through the moment, a cold, hollow sound. You really don't see it, do you? There are forces at play you don't know about. Rusty is just the beginning, and you're all tangled in something much bigger. An uneasiness settled again, this time deeper. Jake's blood ran cold at the thought. What forces? What had they gotten themselves into? I can't ignore the signs he's showing now, Jake replied, determination rising in his chest. I won't turn my back on him. We stand together even against the unknown. As he spoke, Rusty stood, quietly moving toward the crowd, inch by inch, as if searching for affection in their hopeful gazes. Jake watched, holding his breath, hoping that their hearts would open. Many began to reach out, kneeling down to meet Rusty's gaze. A few tentative hands touched his fur, and a collective gasp echoed through the gathering. A soft, rolling wave of acceptance rippled through them. Suddenly Rusty wagged his tail, the thumping sound breaking through the tension like a whisper of joy. Jake felt a rush of warmth spread through him. This felt right, but then the tall man snapped his fingers, drawing attention back. Remember this moment, he warned. Because once the veil is lifted, you'll see how fragile your happiness truly is. Jake felt the air thicken again, the promise of danger lurking around the corner. He glanced at Sarah, her eyes wide with uncertainty, and he knew this fight wasn't just about Rusty anymore. As shivers coursed down Jake's spine, something deep stirred within him, fear and resolve entwined, creating a fiery determination to protect Rusty and confront whatever darkness lay ahead. What awaited them beyond this moment? Would they stand strong against the shadows that threatened to invade? With Rusty at his side and a community beginning to rally, Jake felt hope bubbling once again, desperate for a fight against the encroaching night. Yet the bitter dread remained, reminding him that truths unspoken could cause their effort to unravel. He took a deep breath, ready to press on, when suddenly, a loud bark erupted from Rusty, echoing out as if calling forth whatever challenge lay hidden in the deep. What would they discover next? Rusty's bark rang out, filling the park with a vibrancy that pulled everyone back from the brink of despair. It was a rallying cry, an echo of hope against the bleak darkness looming above them. As if sensing the shift, the crowd's tense hearts began to soften, opened up by Rusty's unwavering spirit and determination to be embraced for who he was today. Jake stepped forward, his heart racing. He couldn't let fear win. You all know how much Rusty has fought to be here, to be loved. Just look at that little guy. He gestured toward Rusty, who stood tall, a true emblem of resilience. He's more than just a dog. He embodies every struggle we've all faced. A murmur of agreement rippled through the audience, faces turning hopeful. Rusty's wobbly stance, a face that had clearly weathered storms bigger than anyone could imagine, suddenly looked magnificent, fierce in its truth. The tall man scoffed. You honestly believe he's different now? You think it's as simple as love fixing brokenness? His words dripped with disdain, but this time Jake pushed back. It's not just about him. It's about us. We need to let love lift us beyond fear. Rusty deserves that chance, and so do we. From the crowd a voice rose, a woman shaking her head with newfound defiance. You don't get it. Love is messy, and yes, it doesn't erase the past. But it can build a future together. The tall man faltered slightly. Faces turned in unity towards him, eyes reflecting solidarity and belief. As if sensing the tide turning, Rusty waddled slowly toward the tall man, his brown eyes wide with curiosity and warmth. Could a small creature like him really make an impact on someone so hardened? See, Jake shouted, his voice rising above the noise. Rusty approaches you without fear. He wants acceptance just as we all do. The man froze momentarily as Rusty reached him, nudging his hand desperately for affection. Hesitantly, the man extended a finger, and Rusty leaned into it, licking the stranger's hand with fervor. A gasp echoed through the crowd, a mix of surprise and wonder. The barrier was breaking, filled now with the light of possibility. Realization dawned on the tall man's face, a flicker of doubt surfacing. Rusty's sheer will to connect stood as a testament to change. This little mutt can't just forget the past, he finally muttered. But the certainty was ebbed away like tides receding. One of the younger spectators stepped up, a soft smile on her face. But he can choose who he wants to be today, she encouraged. He is helping us choose too. The atmosphere shifted fully now, hearts swelling with the belief that a broken pup could teach them all about resilience. Revelations ignited a fire of understanding, a wave of collective acceptance ebbed and flowed, convincing even the most doubtful to reconsider their position. The tall man narrowed his eyes, but the fear he conjured earlier began to dissipate. What if he hurt someone? He grumbled weakly, his defenses lowering. Then we learn together. Jake's voice rang out strong. If we cannot heal Rusty, then we must stand as a family for each other. Change happens when we draw on our compassion. The crowd erupted into applause and cheers, their voices intertwining to create an anthem of acceptance. Jake's heart soared. Rusty had united them all, made them understand that, at their cores, they were all in need of love, of forgiveness, of a family. As the atmosphere filled with light and laughter, the tall man stood frozen in place, overwhelmed by the collective power now emerging. He blinked back at Rusty, who wore a grin as wide as the sky itself, sealing every heart in that moment with the essence of unyielding love. Sarah stepped forward, her voice soft yet powerful. "We will protect him. We will love him and ourselves, remembering that we all carry our histories. It makes us stronger. If Rusty can rise from pain, so can we." With that, the dramatic finale unraveled. The community erupted into accolades and shouts of joy. Rusty wagged his tail, inviting smiles as children pressed forward to pet him. In that moment, the tall man's hardened facade began to crack, and he took a step back, allowing the warmth of acceptance to engulf him too. He looked to Rusty again, and this time, there was no disdain, just a glimmer of understanding. Jake beamed at the crowd. "Let us not let a moment of doubt steal our victory. Rusty has transformed our lives today, and together we'll move forward, hand in paw, as a family." The collective voices of the crowd surged with encouragement, drowning out the lingering shadows. Rusty, once feared as merely an outcast, had become a symbol of hope. As cheers reached a crescendo, Rusty leaped into the air, his clumsy, joyous dance igniting the festival with love. This was their victory. It was a legacy of understanding, acceptance, and the powerful belief in transformation. Together, they learned that the bonds of love triumph over the darkest of pasts. As laughter and applause vibrated through the park, a thread woven from joy and unity shimmered. They were family now, each scar now a story of resilience, waiting for the next adventure toward hopeful tomorrows. So, as we close this chapter, remember to cherish every moment that asks you to face more than just smiles. And for you, dear audience, it's time to support this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that inspire and uplift. Leave a like now, feed that algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Your voice matters. Let us rise together.